Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I am going to discuss the model question paper with you. Not just one but two complete sets, set 1 and set 2. These papers will be extremely helpful for your upcoming exam which is happening on Monday. This pattern we are going to follow will give you a clear idea of the exam and the questions cover all important chapters. If you haven't watched my previous revision classes, please check them out. I have shared important questions chapter wise along with keywords. For the chapter 1, I know some parts were missing. The last two questions I didn't include in the previous video. So that also I'm going to discuss with you in today's class. And please watch the video till the end without skipping so you don't miss any important points. And also I'm excited to share that my book is now available on Amazon and Flipkart. It's all in one guide, textbook, question bank and lab manual combined. I have included answers in very simple English so you can understand and write for your exam. And also, if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, please subscribe and stay updated with my upcoming classes. Please like, comment and share among with your friends. Alright, without wasting any more time, let's see the question paper. Okay, this is a set 1 question. We are having 7 MCQ type of question we may expect, and it is for 35 marks and 1 hour 30 minutes is your time. And what is the first question? Which exception is raised when the value is given to the incompatible data type? So value, which means the right value you are given to what? Incompatible data type means wrong data type. So obviously the answer is what? Type error. And next question, the else block, assertion and reasoning question. You can see here, the else block in a try except structure is mandatory. So else block, what is the meaning of else block? It will work when the try block doesn't have any error. So it is compulsory you have to mention for try and except. It's not compulsory. The else block executes if no exception occurs. This is the correct. So what is the answer? So the answer is the assertion is false but the reason is true. And the next question is, what happens when you try to pop an element from an empty stack? So pop means what? Removing an element. So if you're removing an element from the empty stack, what it will happen? It will happen underflow. Okay. Next one, what is the output of the following code snippet? So you are creating glass stack. It is an empty list. After that glass stack append. Append means what? You are adding the element glass 1 and glass 2. Again you are printing what? Glass star dot pop function. So pop function will return. So what is the recent element you will do? So stack will work with LIFO principle, right? So what is the answer? So the recent you have mentioned what? Glass 2. So that is the answer. Next, which are the following is a not an operation on a queue? So which one is not an operation of queue? NQ is an operation, DQ is an operation, P also is an operation. But insert friend is not an operation because it is an operation of deck. In selection sort, how many elements are sorted after the first pass? So what is the concept of selection sort? You are finding out what? Minimum value and swapping it. Obviously, it will be 1. Next, which sorting techniques divide the list into sorted and unsorted section? So obviously it is what? Insertion sort techniques is, no, you are going to do it with sorted and unsorted section. I hope everyone is clear with this. Next one, filling the blanks. So filling the blanks, there are 3 questions you will be expecting from this no exam. So you have to choose the appropriate words from this. This method dash reads all lines from a file and return them as a list. So all lines from a file, there are 2 concepts. One is a read function, another one is a read lines. But one thing is, it is returns them as a list means what is the answer? Read lines function. And the default mode to open a text file is R. Okay, don't get confused. R plus for binary file and R for read text file. Okay, and a dash allow insertion and deletion from both the end. Both the end you have to read. See here they have given DQ and deck here. The spelling don't get confused. DQ is an operation of Q. Deck is a double-ended queue. So this is the answer for this question. Okay. And, and next one, part B. Part B, you can expect 5 questions out of 5. You have to attend for 3 questions. And each will be carrying 2 marks. So what is the first question? What is an exception? Write the need of exception. So you may know the mark allocation, it will be 1 plus 2. Sorry, 1 and 1. Okay, and write the difference between text and file and binary file. You have to do the comparison with both text file 1 point, binary file 1 point, again text file 1 point, binary file 1 point. So 2 points you are supposed to write it. And write an example of infix and postfix notation. You have to provide what is the infix notation and postfix notation. Okay, infix is what? The operator should come between the operand. You can give an example, a plus b, right? And what are the postfix? Operators will come after the operand. So postfix is AB plus. Okay, next one. Explain deck with an application in real life they are asking. So you have to mention what is the meaning of deck. It is a double-ended queue. It works both stacks and queue. After that, you have to provide one example of real life. Okay, what is the next question? What is sorting? What is the time complexity of nested loop they are asking? So sorting you have to mention, right? What is the meaning of sorting? So sorting is nothing but sorting an element in ascending or descending order you have to mention. And what is the time complexity of nested loop? See, remember bubble sort, selection sort and insertion sort all is following nested loop concept. So the time complexity is O of n square. You have to mention it. Okay. And next one, what is the 3 marker question? So 3 marker question also you may expect 5 questions. Out of 5 you have to attend 3 questions. Okay. And explain right statement with syntax and example. So you have to mention what is a right statement, syntax and example. I have discussed already that in revision class. Go through that. And explain the syntax of read, read line and read lines. So syntax they are asking. You have to mention properly. And what is it meaning also mention us. What is the meaning of read? Right? Mean only one line. Read will helpful to read the entire content from the file. Like that you have to mention one line and the syntax you have to write without any error. And explain the operation on stack. Operation you have to mention any 3 also it is fine. And give one line of explanation. And write the implementation of NQ and DQ. See, this they will be asking implementation of NQ and DQ means you have to mention what? The DEF. What is the meaning of NQ? You have to mention. And the function you have to mention. By using what function you are going to do it. So DEF, NQ of Q comma element. So that you have to mention for NQ and DQ. Next one, apply the selection sort techniques to sort the elements of the list. So selection sort they are asking to do the tracing here. So the tracing you have to identify the minimum value and do the tracing. Okay, next question, part D questions. Answer 2 questions. Each question carries 5 marks. So sometimes they may ask you, here I have given five questions, but you may get 4 questions also. So as per the PU board South zone, they have mentioned only 4 questions, but North zone, they may give 5 questions also. We are not sure about it. So the first chapter, they didn't mention that 5 mark question, but I have given the 5 mark question. It may come or it may not come. Okay, but remaining all the chapter, definitely you can expect one 5 mark question. Okay, so the first question is explain the following built-in function. They may ask IO error, name error, indentation, value and EOF error. Write one line about it. And what is pickling? Explain load function and dump function. So when generally if they're mentioning load function and dump function, better you have to mention with the syntax and example. And convert the following expression from infix to postfix. This you have to follow the 3 column and solve it. And remember all the rules. Whenever you are inserting the operator, check what is there in the stack. Then do accordingly. Write the user defined function to implement the deck operation. Again, the user defined function also it's called what? Implementation of deck. You have to mention it. So next one, write the insertion sort algorithm to sort a list in ascending order. The insertion sort algorithm also you may expect it. Clear? So this is the question paper pattern of set 1 and the set 2 question paper pattern we can see. So here, which statement is used to test an expression and raise an exception? Test an expression is obviously the answer is what? Assert. What will happen if an exception is raised and not caught? If the exception is raised but not caught, the program will continue executing. The program will terminate. The program will ignore the exception. Will display the warning? No, the program will what? Terminate. Next question. In Python, which data type is commonly used to implement a stack? Obviously, the list. Okay. In a queue, which end is referred to the front. The end where the elements are added, the where elements are removed, the middle of the queue, and none of the above. So the elements are added at the rear and the elements are removed at the front. This B is the answer. Next question. What happens when you try to pop an element from an empty stack? So the same question I have mentioned it here. It is called what? Underflow. Next one. Which sorting technique is similar to the way we are sort the playing cards? Playing cards is what? Insertion sort. Next, which of the following notation places operators after their operands? So postfix. Okay, we are going to see the fill in the blanks now. So the first question, if a file is open in dash mode, it will overwrite. Overwrite means which mode? W, write mode. The dash mode allows you to add data at the end of the existing file is A, append mode. The dash data structure is best suited for implementing a task scheduler. Task scheduler means it is what? Queue. Okay. Okay, the next part B is two marker questions. So 5 questions they will be giving. Out of 5, you have to attempt what? 3 questions. So what is IO and name error? You have to mention what is an IO error, what is a name error. And IO error, just mention input output operation fails, comma, when we are trying to reopen a file which does not exist. Complete the sentence properly. And next, write the difference between right and right lines. You have to mention. And what is notation? Mention any two type of notation. Infix. What is notation? You have to mention. And mention any two type of notation. Mention means infix and postfix or prefix. Anything. Any one you can, any two you can mention it. And compare and contrast queue and deck. So compare and contrast queue and deck also two points you have to mention the comparison. And explain open function with syntax and example. Next one, part C. Any 3 questions you have to attend. Try else and except clause they asked. Write different file modes. So different file modes you have to mention any 3. Like read, write or append or R plus. Write properly. No, okay. Then solve the expression. So solve the expression is nothing but it's a postfix evaluation you have to do. And next one, write the operation on Q. Write 3 points. Apply the insertion sort techniques to sort the element. Okay, the tracing questions. And next one, this set 2 question paper, you will be having the HOTS question also. Explain the process of handling exception. The 5 point which is there in my book clearly. The 5 point I have explained clearly in the previous video. So please go through that. So 5 points you have to mention and write a program to enter the following records in a binary file. So this question we had discussed already in the revision class. Go through that and write the operation and implementation of push and pop, algorithm of palindrome, and selection sort algorithm. Okay, these are the questions we will be expecting. And I'm continuing with the remaining 2 questions. I didn't post it in the revision class. Chapter 1, exception handling. I will post that along with this video. And also, all the very best for your exam. After writing the exam, please post your comment how you have written the exam, how this revision class was helpful to you. And please share it with your friends and subscribe my channel. Next, explain the assert statement. So, assert statement and rise statement, only one difference, okay? Assert, rise statement is what? Manually trigger. Assert statement, test an expression in a program. And here, if the condition is true, the program continues. If the condition is false, then only it raises the assertion error. But in rise statement, what? If the condition is true, it raises an exception. So it is the opposite of the rise statement. So this two sentence you have to write opposite of the rise statement. Okay, what is the syntax? Assert expression. So here there what you have written rise exception name you have to mention. Here assert expression you have to mention. comma, argument. These are the small, minute, many of them will make mistake. That's what I'm just stressing upon all this. And next, what is an example? Again, the same example you can take it. Age you are receiving it from the user. But here, assert, directly you are mentioning the assert and the expression. But in the right statement, you are using the if condition, right? So here, assert age is greater than 0, comma, age should be positive. Print of age. That's it. Okay. So if you write it easily, you can score mark. Okay, the next question is every syntax error is an exception, but every exception cannot be a syntax error. Justify the statement. So, how to write this? What they are saying, every syntax error you have to mention it as an exception. But whatever the exception you got, that is not a syntax error. So, what is the first point you will mention? A syntax error is a specific kind of exception. It arises when the code violates the syntax rule, right? So, whenever it violates the grammatical rule, that we can call it as a syntax error. However, exception can also be caused by logical also or runtime issue also. Not only just a syntax. So, exception when it will happen during the runtime, right? Either it can be a logical error or runtime error or syntax error also, but only not only for the syntax error. Okay, so every syntax error is an exception, but not every exception is a syntax error. Clear now? Next question, explain rising or throwing an exception. So explain rising through or throwing exception or catching exception. This also it will come in 3 marker. So, what is the meaning of rising or throwing? When something goes wrong while a program is running, Python raises an exception to show that an error has happened. So, whatever I am highlighting it here, that is a keyword here. So, when you're running the program, if something goes wrong, so what it will happen? Python raises an exception to show that error has happened. After detecting the error, what it will happen? Python creates an exception object and rise it. This is also important keyword. So after finding out the error, what the Python will do? It creates an exception object and rise means it throws it. Then it tells the Python runtime system to take the handle. If you not remember this, it is fine. No need to write it. At least you can write till here. So that what is the meaning of catching an exception? If the program has a code, if your program is having a code of handler, to what is a handler means either try and except block, then it will handle the exception, that is called catching the exception. So that program, the piece of code will run to catch the exception, that is called handling the exception. Clear? So this is the answer for this question. The next one, explain finally clause with its syntax and examples. So this question when you learn, you can write what is try block with syntax and example, what is try try and except block with syntax and example, what is try else except block with syntax and example. All 4 questions you can attempt. So what is the meaning of try block? It contains code where error might happen. Except block means catches and handles specific exception. And else block is an optional. It runs only if exception occurs. So the try block, it may have a error or it may not have a error. But except block, whenever the try block is having the error, the except block catch the exception and handle the error. But if there is no error in the try block, then else block will work. Then but finally block also, it is an optional, but what it will do, always error no runs whether you have an exception or not. Okay, so these are the point you can mention. So whenever they are asking try and except block, you can just mention this 2 only or this 3 only. So depends on the question, you can alter the statement, but you have to remember this 4. So what is the syntax? Try means code that might raise an exception. Except means code to handle the exception. Else, code that runs, no exception occurs. Finally, always it runs. Okay. And what is it? Example, in try you are mentioning enter the value of A, enter the value of B, C equal to A by B. So here I am mentioning 2 exception. It is not necessary you have to mention 2, any one only you can mention. Mainly except zero division error only you can mention. After that L statement and finally statement you can mention it. Okay. So here I am not explaining into the deeper because I have done already all this explanation very in detailed in my first video. So those who didn't watch that, you just watch that video, it will be there in the description box. I'm just highlighting how you're supposed to write it in exam so that you can score marks. I'm just explaining you what are the keyword, how to press it in the paper. Okay. I'm not explaining everything into detail. So these are the important question for this chapter. So I hope it will be useful. So if you have any question related to this, please post your question in the comment section. And do you think if it is really useful, please share it with your friends.